So we're going to talk about the film and the album today. If you want to skip to the album when I talk about that, or just stick around for the film, then turn off. That's more than fine. I know that some people are wanting more of an opinion on one than the other. But I'm Liam, the music reviewer, and today as I say, we're going to talk about Black Panther. And I think we'll talk about the film first. And I feel like it's important to mention the kind of pretense, the kind of environment around this film because as it touches on a lot of social, political kind of things, it needs to kind of be said about how there's been kind of like a great divide about it. There's obviously people on one side who are in the thinking that it's SJW propaganda, political correctness gone mad, diversity quota BS kind of thing, like all that nonsense. And then there's people on their side saying that it's totally perfect, that it's absolutely flawless. It's the first film ever to have black people in it. If you think it's a perfect film, if you think it's the worst film ever made, then that's totally up to you. But just don't have the wrong kind of reasons about it. But I will say that the fact that there's an MCU film that's pretty much bar one or two characters, it's really kind of mainly an all black cast. And I need to say that needs to be kind of commended with the kind of like current diversity problem that's kind of prevalent in Hollywood at the moment. If I was to do this by a positive, negative, kind of like back and forth, the first positive that I'd want to talk about is just kind of like the world of Wakanda. It's just, I was really worried that it was going to be too CGI, that it was going to be just kind of more like generic, like it's just gonna be in Africa and that's it. But no, like they kind of go into about the whole kind of like the traditions, how it's kind of, it reminds me kind of like how you get kind of the steampunk where it's like, oh, an old kind of setting but with modern day technology. It's kind of like that. They also have like the kind of like the swords and the kind of tribal dressing and all that, but mixed in with this like futuristic technology. It really is quite kind of captivating, and pretty much most of the film is set in Wakanda, but the same kind of appeal that the four films had, where like you're looking at Asgard and you're like, oh, this is so fascinating. But the problem with the four films was that it was set far too much in a place where you really didn't care. I feel like when people are talking about how perfect it is, like maybe if it's maybe the first MCU film you've ever watched, you probably would think that it's totally flawless, but it really does fall into a lot of pitfalls, a lot of cliches. I don't really get into spoilers here, so I want to kind of keep it on the dim low. But if you've seen any other sort of Marvel film, you'll be able to go, oh, I remember when this happened in that film, and it's not referential. Like it kind of just gets a bit annoying. It's so predictable. I guess that's maybe more of the downfall of being in the MCU where everything is so carefully organised and directors can only go so far, and if they're unwilling to kind of conform to it, then they end up either getting fired or they end up leaving. Happens with kind of Star Wars as well. There's only so much kind of creativity they can get without their formula being messed up, and it kind of irks me because Ryan Coogler is a very talented director. Just there's a lot of kind of consistencies with the traits of his films. Most of them kind of talk about some sort of socio-economic issues, usually to do with race, and that's something else that I need to praise the film for. The fact that it can explore these very serious topics. Like Wakanda itself is essentially kind of just like, I guess America if it's meant to be the whole kind of like isolation, build the wall, kind of thing. And as the kind of film goes on, it kind of explores like, oh, why haven't we heard of this place before? Why was there nothing getting done then? It does ask these questions, and for the most part answer them quite well. I do think that some choices made for the story, especially the inclusion of Martin Freeman's character, which, like, for starters, he isn't really in it that much, that you could probably just remove him, and his character is kind of closely tied to an editing issue. There's not enough of them where like editing itself is like a bad thing. It's no Suicide Squad, but they do kind of forget about his character at one point, and you're just meant to assume, and it's okay for a film to like just make you like connect the dots, but just it was kind of lazy. And the characters, for the most part, in this, and I keep saying the most part because a lot of the positive things I've got to say about this film usually come with some sort of negative. The action and the acting in this are very strong. I do think that maybe the action isn't completely perfect. It's kind of tied to the fact that some of the CGI is not too good. It's not very consistent. Sometimes it looks absolutely lovely, especially with the suit. But sometimes the suit looks like absolute kind of PS1 garbage at points. Um, but on the other hand, the action, yep, solid. The the acting is quite good, especially Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger, who does have a lot of these kind of motives and motivations that make him probably one of, if not the kind of most compelling villain to me. His reasoning, while you might think that it kind of comes off as a bit extremist, you understand where he's coming from. It's been established well enough, and for the most part, you kind of agree with him, especially when it comes to Wakanda. It's like, well, you should really be helping out, and it kind of gives more of a kind of like um, a harder situation for Chadwick Boseman, who plays Black Panther, for him as being the king. Now makes it. I heard some people. I think it was Adam from YMS, as well as Ralph the Movie Maker, who said that it was boring, and I didn't really felt bored. I actually thought that it started off fair enough. It was like standard. As it went on, it was getting stronger. It wasn't until the third act that I kind of started to lose a bit of interest. I feel like the final scene could have been more than just a big battle. The battle was like, it wasn't like total, like I didn't turn off completely, but again, kind of just felt a wee bit. It could have done more. One thing I didn't mention was the humor, which is absolutely horrible. Just it falls flat in its face so much. Especially Shuri, which is T'Challa, Black Panther's sister, who is like I think is a very strong character. I just wish she didn't have some of like the worst comedy in this. And there's another character, I can't remember if it is specifically Shuri, but they make some sort of with my hair back and forth reference of this. We'll get into the music eventually, but the score in this is phenomenal. Maybe at some points it was kind of misused a little bit when it was tense. Maybe they should have like tuned it down a little bit. But I think that was one of my favorite things about the movie was just the score. I was so impressed by it. But an overall kind of like to like kind of summarize what I think about Black Panther, it's not the best MCU film, but it's far from being the worst. I would say it's a good film. I think maybe the fact it's an MCU film is maybe what brings it down. I think if say the MCU didn't exist and Ryan Coogler just kind of got the Black Panther property and was able to do his own thing without having to worry about when Black Panther's going to appear in Infinity War or that, maybe he would have been able to explore it a bit better. Maybe his cinematography could have been a bit more impressive. Like, it's not bad in this at all, but it just feels kind of safe and bland. And I think a lot of people kind of say that just about Marvel films in general. I would give it like a light 7. I feel even if you're not into MCU, I don't know if it will compel you as much, but it might interest you a fair bit. I admire what it did. I just wish that it had maybe done it a bit better. Now we're on to the album now, and I did mention the score when I was talking about the film there, but the score and the album are like two different worlds. The score for the film keeps it quite safe while incorporating some traditional African instruments, but the album made by Kendrick Lamar, it kind of started to feel a bit kind of experimental with how it incorporated some contemporary hip hop production along with the like aforementioned traditional instrumentals. It never went as far as I wanted it to go, but I did just have a great time with the album. It feels more kind of like a guerrilla sort of affair where Kendrick Lamar is kind of like the head honcho, like kind of like the Damon Albarn, and then he gets his features on, and for the most part, all the features are especially strong. The best song for me is probably Ops, which has Vince Staples on it, and it just has a pure Big Fish Theory vibe to Surprise Surprise. That was my favourite album of last year, and it just clicked so well with me. There's also X, which has just really catchy hook, and I think a lot of this album it kind of feels a bit commercially, but that never really had that wasn't like a negative for me as trying to be part of this film, and it does crop up at some points in the film, not as much as I want it to be, but considering like a lot of the language, I guess it wouldn't really like pass the censors or whatever. but there is it's not a completely perfect album. For one, the song "The Ways," which has Khaled on it, I turned right off from that. It just feels just a bit too generic for me, and the tone of it, just like a lot of this album has this kind of like dark tinge to it. Not so much that it feels like nightmarish, but it's enough that like it's got kind of like a cohesiveness to it. This track just kind of like throws it off the rails a little bit. It just feels maybe not. It's not even so much cheesy, but it feels like it belongs in another film entirely. There's people that have been complaining about All the Stars with SZA on it, but I actually like it a fair bit. I think when it first came out, I did think her vocals were just a bit too safe. There wasn't really much that was making me think that was the right person for it. They could have really got anyone. But the more I listen to it, the more it's just been clicking with me a lot more. And also, Kendrick Lamar pretty much crops up on every single song on here. There's some involvement, and he does a fantastic job for the most part. It's not really like, it didn't feel as good as like a solo project, but there was no real point for me where I was like, he's not doing that good. King's Dead is where I think he impressed me the most when it came to his second verse, which he tries to kind of do from the perspective of Killmonger from the film. And that's the thing that I also need to mention is how this does kind of stand alone. There is references to the film, but I feel, considering I've listened to this before I actually saw the film, there wasn't like any sort of narrative running through it where I'm like, okay, I don't get that. I need to see the film to understand that. It's probably kind of like how a Marvel film is, with for Easter eggs and whatnot. It does maybe make it kind of warrant some replay value after maybe you've watched the film. But yeah, with King's Dead, that's where I was like, Kendrick's on is on top form. But the thing that kind of detracts that song from being like truly great. So like it's a good kind of bop. It's very like you can chuck it on it like before you go out to club or something like that. But Future's verse is very hit and miss. I personally like it quite a bit, but it's very jarring, like kind of like a piss take. So it's going to be very Marmite to some people. J Rock, his flow is good. What he's saying just is filler to me. Like he's just saying stuff for the sake of it. The music video, by the way, for it is like an absolute joy. So please watch that if you get a chance. But yeah, overall for the album, I feel like it's strong enough to stand on its own. There was some things where I thought, okay, you could push that a bit further. Some things maybe feel a bit too safe. There's some songs altogether that I think that if they just scrapped it, it would have made the album better, like The Ways. But I wouldn't maybe rank it as highly as some kind of original soundtracks or albums. Wouldn't put it up with that Daft Punk Tron one. That kind of sets the bar for me when it comes to these kind of albums. But I'm definitely glad that Kendrick got the chance to go about in making this, especially with the people that he got on board for it. And I think if I'm going to rate it here, probably a strong 7 to a light 8. But yeah, this has been me talking about Black Panther, the film and the album. Where does it rank for you? Is it at the top half? Is it the bottom half? Let me know why you think that. For me, it's kind of in the middle. I was getting beef for thinking that Iron Man 3 is better. Black Panther is a good film. It's not as bad as people are making out to be. I don't think it's as great as people are making out to be. But tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm right down in the comments below. Also, the album. Just let me know your favourite tracks, your worst tracks, just what you thought in general. I've been Liam, the music reviewer, and I'll catch you later. Take care.